In Ethiopia's capital city, only one hospital serves people who cannot afford to pay. For decades, this hospital has struggled to provide even the most basic type of care due to overwhelming need and lack of resources. But there is a new hope, thanks to a group of American doctors who are working hand in hand with the Ethiopians to improve the level of care. Penny Legate has our story from Addis Ababa.
We tend to take Seattle's top-rated medical facilities for granted. Hospitals such as Swedish Medical Center. It's known for highly skilled doctors and nurses, comprehensive care, state-of-the-art equipment, and philanthropists. Now, obviously, a philanthropist is not a medical specialty, but rather a specialty of the heart. And as it turns out, there's an incredible humanitarian mission with roots right here at Swedish that stretches halfway around the world. Ethiopia is located in the heart of East Africa, a nation rich in culture, but economically destitute. It's among the world's poorest countries. Nowhere is that poverty more evident than in the healthcare system. In the capital of Addis Ababa, the only place where the poor can receive care is the government-run Black Lion Hospital.
This hospital, it's beyond description. It's hard to convey to Americans what this is like, and unless you see it with your own eyes, there's no way you can really get it.
Dr. Richard Solazzi is a Seattle anesthesiologist who has practiced at Swedish for 25 years. He co-founded SAO, Seattle Anesthesia Outreach. The group works in several developing countries. But when Solazzi first visited the Black Lion in 2010, his life was forever changed.
I'll tell you, my reaction was either go big or go home because they had so many problems.
Solazzi chose to go big. In less than a year, he was back in Ethiopia with a small army of doctors, nurses, and technicians from Swedish. Their goal? To bring the Black Lion out of the dark ages.
We talk about the fact that there's not hot water available in the hospital. Basic things like that, basic amenities, things that we take for granted, never mind hospital issues, sort of basic hygiene issues, basic cleanliness. It's such a world away and almost a century away. Swedish
has about 95 anesthesiologists in the country of Ethiopia, which is very close to 80 million people. There are, we think, about 16 anesthesiologists in the country. So we have multiples more here in one hospital and multiple hospitals in King County. So yeah, the discrepancy is huge.
Remember I marked it? So we're going to leave it right there.
Until SAO arrived on the scene, women had never had epidurals available during labor and delivery. And C-sections were done only under general anesthesia, which is considered unsafe. This is the hospital's first C-section birth with an epidural.
Here's a baby.
They did not have a recovery room process at all when we arrived.
Wow, a lot of ostomy bags.
The Americans dug in, transforming a moldy old storage area into a first-class recovery room.
We were very, very much astonished by the kind of help these people are providing, because Seattle and Addis Ababa are, half the globe far apart.
They were certainly surprised, and it gave us some credibility that we were willing to just really work hard, that we weren't there just to stand and observe and direct them how they should behave or what they should be doing, but we were actually physically going to make this happen.
We've established this recovery room. We've set up monitors so that we can monitor the patient's EKG, their oxygenation, their blood pressure. And with our oxygen saturation monitors, we can monitor that and see that she's adequately oxygenated.
It's so unlike here. There is no comparison to be made. And we get the Cadillac version, and they wait for days to see if they might have a resolution to their problem. And death is very common.
Almost all the equipment we've taken there from here has been donated by Swedish Hospital.
Anesthesia machines, gurneys, monitors. And in this room, shelves of anesthesia supplies donated by Swedish. Everything from laryngeal masks to disposable syringes.
Initially, they were looking at shipping all this equipment to Ethiopia through Djibouti, which was going to be very expensive and take very long. And then it turned out that we found out that Boeing does deliveries to airlines, and they will take humanitarian supplies for free on those flights. And so we were able to hook up with Boeing and Ethiopian Airlines.
Those are Swiss operating room tables that we bought from the U.S. Army. They're Army surplus field operating room tables.
8 tons number sort of says it a little bit in that it's substantial equipment. It is not tape and gauze. We've sent anesthesia machines and defibrillators and patient monitors and all sorts of sort of pretty substantial support things, 5 brand new operating room tables, operating room lights.
We're very proud of them and honored to have our medical staff and employees doing such great work overseas in areas that really need their work.
Another primary goal is to make the Black Lion a strong teaching hospital.
You can always comfort her and let her know that she's here and that she's in recovery. They very forgetful, and let her know that she's going to be okay.
Even with dramatic improvements in care, training, and equipment, the hospital faces yet another huge challenge.
One of the things that surprised us was how fragile the infrastructure was in terms of, the heating and the lighting and the electricity and that sort of thing being major issues in terms of provision of medical care at Black Lion.
Ancient boilers wheeze, hiss, and routinely fail. That means no hot water, and surgeries for people who've been waiting for days must be canceled. In the basement, there's standing water where corroded pipes leak onto electrical wires.
A lot of them have had water dripping on them forever. They originally put these supports in, which was state-of-the-art, but they've all rusted through. In one day, this hospital could close the doors because it's that fragile. Yeah.
Outside, the horrors continue. The hospital's sewage treatment system failed years ago.
All of the sewage from the hospital comes down through this stream. The sewage treatment, which is over here, which are through the trees you can't quite see, is completely broken, so nothing is treated, and it comes down and it ends up in the rivers in the city.
There are times that Solazzi feels absolutely hopeless, that the needs are just too overwhelming.
It's just impossible. But the hope comes when I look back and we see we've given them a recovery room and we've got residents in anesthesia now, and their turnover times in surgery are better, they have better equipment, they're enthused. So in our short little time there, we feel like we've really made some tangible progress.
And the Americans feel it is not they who inspire, but rather their Ethiopian colleagues, who do so much with so little.
I met with the residents this morning and a bunch of the staff, and the doctors here make very little money, and they're very dedicated and nice, and people are happy, and it's just really, I think the people are what's awesome here.
We'd like to keep going. We want to sustain this for 20 years, and at 20-year mark, I think we could look back and say, gee, we really made a difference.
Well, it's our honor to be here. Thank you so much for allowing us to come.
I don't think there's anything unique about any of us that go. It's just that once you've been exposed to that and you see our lifestyle, you see what we have, and you see the disparity, it's really hard to turn your back and walk away.
Penny Legate, reporting for VOA News.
The SAO team is heading back to Addis Ababa in October with more medical machinery and personnel. The volunteers are committed to a long-term program of assistance and support to make sure the poorest of the poor receive the care they deserve.